See, at first I was like, I can hear myself.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's why, because you've got your headphones next to your microphone.
Well, yeah, because, the whole strategy of you clapping and we play it back so we can synchronize the audio that you came up with 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. We're still kind of doing it, so I was just ahead of you in that situation.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm going to take that on board. I'm going to write it down in my notes. 1 second.
Oh, please do write it down. And while you're at it, can you write down need milk, 2 eggs, and a big long sausage? Don't ask me what I'm making. I'm just making something. So, Joel?
Yeah.
What are the topics of today?
Topics of today. I want to ask you about your career, Gareth.
What?
The choices that you've made in life and where you want to go with them.
My current career?
If we have a career to currently talk about,
the
sure.
Non-existent one, yeah.
Okay. And secondly to that, which is ironically second, is making money.
Maybe we talk about making money in our career. Plot twist. Crazy.
Oh my gosh. It's almost as if we planned it.
Almost crazy. Career-wise, should I start from the beginning? What I've done so far?
Once upon a time. Give me the start.
Once upon a time in the little land of Dudley, there was a young blonde man walking down the streets. And then his dad said, "Yo, mate, you got to get a job. You're 16 now, yeah?" Actually, no, I was 15. 15. So, I joined my dad's factory. I worked for him. Hated it. Absolutely couldn't stand it. And I don't think my dad liked working with me either. So, we were on a mutual standing ground there. So I quit after 2 weeks. And realized that was probably the time where I realized I don't want to go into fucking manual labor at all. There's something about manual labor and doing the same mundane task over and over and over again really just put me off. But besides that, I spent the later halves of my years, can't speak, I am English, by the way, working in restaurants.
Did you?
Yeah, I was a kitchen porter for a while, which is, a busboy, cleaning plates and horrible grime. So I was that for a fair amount of time. And then I worked as just a regular waiter and worked in a kebab shop where I was cutting meats and serving food, but it was a nice, quote-unquote, posh kebab shop. So I worked there for ages and then worked my way up to supervisor and then later on an assistant manager. When I was about 18, I think, I was running a shop in Cardiff. Stayed there for a year. Moved on to supervisor in a restaurant. And then moved on to a different restaurant. Realised at the age of 20, 21, I hated hospitality as well. After 5 long years.
It's a good time to learn that.
Yeah, working full-time, about 50-hour weeks, that I hated hospitality. Because the thing is, Joel, if you wasn't aware, even though you work at the place and that you see the food and the process that makes the food and you know the menu in and out, you are always wrong, funnily enough. It's kind of crazy that the customers that walk in there can cook the food and serve the food better than you can. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, there's something about the people that walk in that just, it's amazing how many professional chefs you get in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nuts. I've never met so many professional chefs in my life and silver plate waiters. It was insane. At one point, a guy stood up and showed me how to hold a tray. It was beautiful, if I do say so myself.
You've just got to thank them for sharing the information in such an informative and kind and caring way.
Yeah, I mean, they're not assholes whatsoever. They're doing it out of loving and compassion. You know, I definitely didn't want to rip every single one of their heads off. Not whatsoever.
There's definitely a way with when you work in hospitality. There is a way that you have to have with customers where you care but also don't care. You have to come across as if you care, but if you actually care, you will want to leave after 5 days because of just what you have to put up with and what you end up having to deal with, or what you think you have to deal with, what it feels like anyway.
Well, there was a time where I was getting into the latter half of my employment when I was running the restaurant in Cardiff, where I stopped caring. And it got to a point where I picked up the phone, and this is probably still one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me while working in a restaurant. I picked up the phone and we sold veal and chicken. Now, veal is like a baby cow. It's beef, right? And most kebab shops sell lamb, right? So I pick up the phone and she's like, "Hiya, can I order a mixed doner kebab?" Standard order. And I went, "Yeah, so that would be veal and chicken." And she went, "Oh, you don't do lamb?" And I went, No, we do veal." And she goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever, what's the difference?" I went, "They're different animals." And instantly she just hung up the phone. And I never heard back from that woman ever since. So
outraged. She was outraged that they were different animals. What? I thought meat came from the same animals.
So there is that, and to the point of me handing food to the customers. And I think one time I handed, because it's basically like in a waffle bread, this kebab was. And it had 2 sauces on one side of the bread, on the inside, and then 1 sauce on the other side, on the bottom half of the bread, right? And he was like, "Mate, there's no sauce on this whatsoever. What are you doing? There's no sauce." And he's like being really rude. And I literally grabbed his sandwich, pulled up the side of it, and showed him that there was 2 layers lathered on of sauce, turned the sandwich around, pulled up the other side, and showed him the other, placed it back down on his tray, I went, "There you go," and walked off. So there was a point where I just kind of stopped giving a shit, and that's probably why I quit. Because I couldn't be bothered with all of these Michelin star chefs trying to tell me how to do it.
The hospitality as well is everyone eats so differently and everyone feeds themselves so differently, where some people will have the minimum amount of everything. You'll give them a regular portion of chips and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, there's so many chips here. How could anyone finish this?" And then you'll have other people who will go through a full bottle of mayonnaise and be like,
"Where's the rest?
Where's not enough? Why is there no more mayo? What's wrong with you? How do you eat food if not with a gallon of mayo?"
Those are the type of people that grab the burgers and just dunk it in the mayo bucket and then eat it. You know,
I do that, to be fair.
They're built differently. You're just built differently, I guess. You know?
We weren't cut from a different cloth. We were just cut from the wrong cloth.
Yeah, there's something.
We
wrong.
were the offcuts.
There's something wrong, but at the end of the day, you're still Michelin star chefs. So, you know, you can't go wrong.
I appreciate your confidence. Seeing as though I have actually promised that I will cook for you one day.
Yeah.
That I hope you do believe I'm a Michelin star chef.
No, it's not that. It's not the hope that I believe that you are. It's the expectation that you are now.
I've done it now.
So I finished working in restaurants, and then I moved on to like a gadget shop. And I was a supervisor there, working again 60-hour weeks, and during Christmas I was working like 70-hour weeks. In the process of flying drones, controlling a remote control car that runs up walls and sticks to them and stuff like that. And then the other half of my job was dealing with amazing, perfect, and beautiful customers. Sorry, I misspoke. I was thinking about something else. You know.
What I love about this story the most is that we get like 70% of the way through, and Gareth realizes he doesn't want to be in hospitality. Effectively stays in retail for the other 30% of that, right? Like, he's like, "Oh, I'm not leaving. I'm really good at it, though."
No, hospitality and retail are 2 different things.
I feel like they come under the same barrel.
No, they really don't. Hospitality is like food. Retail is retail, like clothing and accessories.
But you're still dealing with people in a snapshot of their life where they're just coming to you for something. you're looking after them momentarily, and then
Yeah, I know, but they're still different things. I'm still customer service. That's probably the better word for it. I was still in customer service. But yeah, but I thought, hey, I'm gonna get to fly some drones and control these remote cars. I didn't expect 40-year-old men and women to come along and be like, right, mate, your headphones aren't working, and then we have to show them how the fuck to use headphones because they're too old and stupid to understand. Sorry, really smart to understand how it works, and they didn't read the instructions. And then when they want a refund, it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't bring the box, the accessories, the item itself, or the receipt, but I want a refund. Okay. What? What?
Yeah, it joins the long list of people that do not want to read T's and C's, nor have any interest to ever think about them.
So that has been my that's been my life up until recently, where I was lucky enough to go back home during COVID, so I didn't have to pay rent anywhere. I got out of that very quickly, and am now focusing solely on trying to become a voice actor. That's the main focus, is becoming a voice actor. I've worked on extras and film and TV sets recently. Meeting some very interesting people and some very not interesting people, but all amazing nonetheless. But the fingers crossed is to get into commercials, getting to animations, cartoons, and everything, so you can hear this voice wherever you go. Oh yeah.
We've discussed this previously, just in life, but when we've ever been to the cinema, at the View especially, they're not doing it anymore, I don't think. But when Mark Strong was on,
that's
as the voice
goal.
to turn off your phone, I turned off my phone.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
That's like the pinnacle, or that's really the pinnacle for me. Of like, the lights go down, everyone goes silent in the cinema, and the first thing you hear is Mark Strong's gorgeous voice saying, "Hello." You're like, oh. I'll turn off my phone for you. I'll focus. I'll sit back and relax.
Not for these other people, but for you, Mark.
But for you,
I'll turn
Mark.
off my phone.
I will do whatever. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment, and the goal for the future is to make a sustainable living and hopefully become an incredibly successful voice actor, which is incredibly hard, but we've got our fingers crossed, we've got our toes crossed, and we've got our you-know-whats crossed, in hopes that we're going to get there.
You've got to try. At the end of the day, we have to try, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it is that. What about you? What's your employment process up until this point?
I've worked a bit like you in hospitality and retail as well. Done some retail bits and bobs in there. A lot of customer facing. I feel like those are the jobs. There's such a high turnaround that they're always looking for staff.
Yeah.
And they're always vetting us less, so we don't have to be good. We just need to be there, which I like. So I've done a fair bit of that. I did work for Nando's at one point.
God,
will say that. Free chicken. Can't complain with that.
I'll keep my lips closed.
We don't need to talk about your love for Nando's.
It's all right.
Deep care and love for Nando's.
Incredible hatred.
We just renamed the Irrational Podcast. But it's yeah, I mean that had its ups and downs, but it put you on a level of energy where you had to get through the night, and you had to get through the day and the night, where customers are piling in and people are wanting this, that, and the other, whatever it is that they're after, and it's just either not being able to deliver or just having quite literally so much on your plate that I wouldn't want to go back. I wouldn't want to go back to it. Yeah. But it was definitely eye-opening, and it does put some proverbial hairs on your chest to just be in a customer-facing role when you're young.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I started out working in a little Welsh farm shop.
Ooh, is that?
Which I hated.
Oh.
I was like you. I was a kitchen porter or dishwashing boy and it was okay, but you'd spend all day just washing dishes.
Yeah.
And there was, what I'd find is that when you'd have your hands in water all day, first of all, there was a really specific muscle in my back that would always hurt whenever you're like leant over at such an angle, or you'd have your hands down in a sink all day. There's a really specific muscle in the 2 or 3 of us that did it in all of our backs that would really hurt. And I was like, man, I'm like 18. I shouldn't be hurting.
Yeah.
I used to bounce when I was a kid, and now look at me. I'm like geriatric. I can't get out of my armchair. So, yeah, we used to do that. But also, I'd find that because you had wet hands all day, your skin would just sort of absorb all the water. And then whenever you touch something, like someone needed a knife washing or something, and you just slice yourself open or something like that, and you think, oh my gosh. It's so easy to do when you've got wet and sort of wet skin.
And it's always, with the kitchen porters, every single surface is that like weird metal surface that's oddly sharp when you've got wet hands. So all you've got to do is graze your hand across it, and you've got a basic like 3rd degree paper cut across all your fingers. It's awful. And you've got to put your hands back in soap.
Well, I don't know about you, but whenever there was one particular gnarly time, I still have a big scar on my thumb from it today, when they have obviously like the 12-inch bread knives.
Yes,
the ones with the coloured plastic handles.
Yeah.
And we had one of those, and I was just washing it, and I had a sponge, and I ran the sponge down it, but little did I know that I just basically ran the whole knife down my thumb and just sliced into my thumb.
Holy shit.
So there was this lovely sort of like 2 by 2 centimeter patch of my thumb that was kind of, the skin was hanging off. It didn't go to any of the bone or anything, but the skin was kind of flapping off, and it was just loads of blood everywhere. So I went round, and they got me the first aid box. I put a plaster on it, and then I was thinking, oh, can I go home? Because I can't bleed all over the dishes. And they put this plaster on it, which wasn't doing anything. The blood was still coming out. They gave me a marigold, and they duct taped it to my wrist, and just said, carry on.
They gave you a what?
A pair of marigolds. So do you know those long washing up gloves, the like yellow ones that have the pink fingertips?
Oh, yeah.
Gave me one of those, and they just duct taped it to my wrist so nothing could get out.
What?
And it just said, right, carry on. We still need dishes washing. I was like, fine.
That's awful.
So afterwards, it was just a sort of like semi-filled with blood marigold glove that I had to take off. Oh, it was grim. Absolutely horrible.
I had one experience working in a kebab shop where I was cutting kebabs all day, and obviously we wear gloves, but even then your hands get quite sweaty. So I took off my gloves and chucked them away because I was going to be washing up for the night. And for some reason, they had these little metal containers that were kind of almost like a tray, a big deep tray. And as I picked it up, because it was full of grease. This is, thinking back, it's fucking horrible. My hands were quite damp from the sweat, because obviously there's a 89, 90 degree heater in front of you cooking this kebab. So I picked up this deep tray of grease and was carrying it over to the sink, and it kind of slid, and the edges of this tray were sharp. They were like that really thin metal, like I said, that a lot of the surfaces are made out of, but even thinner. And it started to like cut into my, the ridges at the edge of your palm that link to your fingers.
Yeah.
It cut all the way down on both of my hands, and it was just before I got to the sink. So as it was sliding down, it was cutting my hands, and then all the grease went on the floor before the sink. And I just like, that moment where you just drop the deep pan. You sat there like, okay, I hate my life. In this very moment in time, I want to crawl over and die. This is the worst. I've got blood streaming down both fingers. I've got grease all over me and all over the floor that I've now got to mop up because no one else is going to help me. And the sink is like 1 foot away from me. I couldn't have just waited 1 foot to chuck it away.
But it's so true. They must make those trays and all of those in quotes, professional cooking trays.
Yeah.
I don't know. They must go
sharp.
to some Russian knife factory and go, you guys make knives. Can you also make us some trays with the same
Yeah.
edges? Oh, of course, not problem. Brilliant.
You just
Great
pick
stuff.
it up and poof, there goes your fingers.
Straight.
You're
Oh,
done.
wow. Oh, and then someone comes up to you and goes, what, you picked it up by the sharp handles? What are you doing? You just pick it up underneath.
The sharp handle. Yeah, if I picked up a whole fucking deep tray of grease by the bottom, it would be like the second coming of Titanic. It would be all over me.
The second coming of Titanic. I would love to see, like, would it rise from the sea floor and, like, resurrect itself but still have that whole, like, bent shape to it?
It would
Like
be
a
like
ghost
that type of thing where you're trying to balance the liquid that's inside. So your left hand goes up, and as your left hand's going up, all the liquid falls down to the right side. So your right hand goes up to balance it back, and that way it's already too late. The grease is going all over you. You're the iceberg. The Titanic sinking goes full 90 degrees up into the air, straight down onto the floor.
I don't know if you've ever tried to
You
carry
die.
That's it.
You're
Ultimately, it's game over.
You don't even get Jack to hold your hand.
Oh, and I want Leonardo DiCaprio to hold my hand.
I don't. I just don't want to spill grease over my fucking self. That would be even better, to be honest.
Those are two aspirations. See, we have different aspirations in careers, but they're both commendable.
You want to hold hands with Leonardo DiCaprio? I don't want grease over myself. Two good professions. You know?
Two good professions, two great professionals.
So, from going to restaurants, and did you say you worked in retail?
Yeah. Well, I
What
say
kind
I've
of retail?
worked in retail. I kind of now work in a sort of retail.
Yeah,
Where I work
your
with-
job now is classed as retail, just different
I
kind.
work with cars, so it's a bit more. Yeah, so it's retail, but it's not quite like, oh, let me get you. Do you want a hanger with this suit?
No, it's do you want your keys to your car?
Do you want your keys to your car? You can't have them. You want
Huh?
Can't have 'em.
Yeah, you go ahead. You go and take that car.
them? But I have, worked in various places. But we both are, being an actor, voice actor, screen actor. I'd love it. I'd love that, and it would be amazing to see it happen.
What are your plans to make it happen?
I think it'd be a great idea if we could start a podcast, Gareth.
Really?
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm not sure people would want to listen to us, to be honest.
Oh, never mind. Silly idea.
Yeah.
Ignore me.
All I ever talk about is being covered in grease. It's really
Yeah.
weird, to be honest.
And all you do is cover yourself in grease, when you're
Yeah,
at home,
I'm kind of like head to toe in grease at the moment.
on the bus,
Yep.
train.
Yep. Favorite mode of transport on the bus. No, like what? So what? Besides the podcast and getting our voices out there, or trying to get our voices out there, if people listen, what are your plans at the moment to kind of get yourself recognized as an actor, if there are any?
You see, this is, it's not a plan, because I think when you try and make a plan, it can be tough to actually make it work, right? To actually make it come to fruition can be really tough, and especially I think plans are kind of conducive to a time scale, and I don't want to put a time scale on it because I basically just don't have to turn around to myself and go, oh, you failed what you set out to do, we'll start again. But what I do want to do is just keep improving, keep applying for things, keep chomping at the bit, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
Every little bite by little bite, and see what happens, see what comes up. And if I can gain traction that way, if I could actually get something out of it where people start to either meet you and know you or recognize you, or start to recognize that, oh, this person has some skills that we could actually use in whatever it is they're wanting to do, that I think could be a really promising way to start. But it's about finding the traction and trying to find how to get the traction. I think that's probably the hardest bit, is looking at where you can go to actually build that. And like a lot of people, they say, "Oh, what have you done before?" And you go, "Oh, I haven't really done much." And they go, "Ah, you see, well, we want someone who's done something." And it's that whole thing of you need experience to get experience, I think, kicks in as well.
Well, that's one of the most annoying things with jobs in general. I remember when I was younger, I tried to apply for a barista, and every single coffee shop was like, "We need someone with 2 years of barista experience." It's like, well, how am I supposed to get barista experience if you don't let me work for you and learn? And every single job, or a lot of jobs, are like that. And especially in acting, it's like, hey, you want to be a lead role in a film? Well, I kind of need you to be in a film prior to that as a lead role. Okay, well, how do I get a lead role? Sorry, you've got to audition for a lead role, but we don't take you if you want to be a lead role if you've never been a lead role. And it's just a constant vicious circle of, yeah, you haven't done much, so you're not going to do much unless you get in there. But how do you get in there? By doing something. And it's just over and over and over, spin, spin, spin. But it's interesting that you say that, because this is probably where we differ. And it's surprising that you don't want to make a plan, because the person that I've known and the person that I'm working with right now it's almost like we've swapped in that sense, because bit of behind the scenes, you end up, Joel, writing a lot, writing down notes, taking things on and trying to figure things out via jotting them down or working them out, whereas I turn up 2 minutes prior with a pizza in my mouth being like, yeah, ready, let's go. And then on the other hand,
he did.
We've got you, who you're saying that you don't want to make a plan for going into acting, or that you don't have a plan because you think if you do that you might end up being disappointed. Whereas me, for the past 2 years, my plan was to get a voice reel done, to practice voices and keep my vocal training somewhat consistent, and to message agents, which has taken, granted, probably 2 years longer than it should have. But I've got there now because I've stuck to that plan. That was my goal. It didn't matter how long it was going to take for me, because I didn't really set a time limit. Originally I did. I gave myself a year. But then I've kind of realized that as long as you have a goal in mind and you're striving towards that, it doesn't really matter how long it takes. Like for this podcast, we've been speaking about this podcast for about a year. And whilst we wanted to do it probably 8 months ago, at least we still had that goal in mind to start it and to keep pushing forward to start it. And now we actually have.
Yeah, I agree. I think, don't get me wrong, I have steps that I want to take. I have the next step and the next step. But I see it as just like climbing a staircase into the clouds, bit of a staircase to heaven, where I'm just going to take one step and then the next step and then the next step. And hopefully at some point you'll look down and think, wow,
I've taken
pretty high
a lot
up
of
here.
steps. Yeah.
Taking a lot of steps. Or you'll get to a point where people recognize that you've gone quite far. And I think that's my...
But that kind of is a plan in itself, though.
Yeah, I guess it is. I guess you could call it a plan.
Because, like, there's one thing I think a lot of people have an issue with, especially when it comes to creative arts, is that the creative arts people, or the industry itself, is incredibly ambitious. And they're like, oh, I want to be a famous actor. But the moment you say, well, how do you do it? Or what's your plan to do it? Some of them don't have plans whatsoever. They're just like, I'm going to keep doing it until I get there. Okay, well, doing what? I'm not sure, whatever I need to do. I was like, great.
Yeah.
Or you've got the other people that are like, I'm just going to audition and then hopefully get an acting role and then go from there. But then you've got to take into account of all those little steps to climb that giant mountain. Like you said, is all right. For example, for me, it was okay. My end goal is to be a successful, self-sufficient voice actor on things that I can hear my voice in TVs, games, and cartoons and stuff like that. Okay, there's the main goal. Now, the goal from there is to take that and turn it into a bunch of small steps that are manageable, and doable for your current state now. So mine was practicing voices. So we started a D&D game where I get to practice different accents, different voices, different characters. I get to make different characters. I wanted to get a voice reel done because I know that was something I could do. Then I took that voice reel, which was technically a big step, and turned that into little steps among that. So it was a case of, all right, how do I make a voice reel? So I started to learn how to make a voice reel. Oh, I found this. So then I can pay someone, hopefully, to make my voice reel. I can travel and meet people who have done voice reels, and stuff like that. So you take your massive step, turn that into little steps, and turn those little steps into even smaller steps to help you climb, I guess. Or at least that's how I've managed and thought about it in that sense. Is because if you burden yourself with any type of huge responsibility that you might not be able to complete, you will get disheartened. You will get upset, and you will get annoyed with yourself because you're not doing enough. Whereas nowadays, that's not the case. If you get famous overnight, that's luck. You know, it's not something that you technically even want.
Yeah.
You know,
either that or you had to put yourself in a position where that could happen for a long time. I think I'd always see actors who have made it to a point in their career where you don't really need to worry about work, or you don't need to worry about people recognizing you and knowing that you've done good work. And I think I see those people and I go, man, they always look so ready for it. How do they look so ready for it?
It's because they are.
But I think, well, maybe because they've been ready for it for the past 5 years and it just hasn't happened. And then when they've been like, oh my gosh, when am I going to be able to actually get a break and do some decent work? And then it happens and they go, oh, finally. It could happen 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. What do you believe? What do you believe? Gaz, hello? What do you think of the idea of like manifestation?
I think it it's not like we all have a predestined path. It's not like that. But
so
I definitely
don't
think,
believe in string theory.
Yeah, I can't. Was it not determination? Oh, I don't. This is where I really show how unscientific I am.
Yeah, there we go.
Who knows what's going? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Simply put, string theory is like your destination and your destiny is pre-planned before you even have any notion of it. Yeah,
that you could. Isn't it that idea?
A single string of reality.
That you could predict where every atom in the universe will end up at some point.
Yes, exactly.
That whole thing. I've heard of that.
Kind of.
So it's I definitely believe. I think the idea of manifestations in my head would manifest itself in a way that says the more positively you think and the more positively you think about yourself and your own career, it's going to help you by allowing you to believe something and believe where you could go. It's going to help unlock your potential because you're not going to be holding yourself back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, a massive thing in acting and in all industries, to be fair, is the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And the imposter syndrome is really funny because it's quite ironic in a way because you feel like you shouldn't be there. So you feel like you have to try and trick people into thinking that you should be there. Mm-hmm. But in reality, if you could fool that many people into thinking that you should be in a job that you don't think you should be, then you're probably better than you're giving yourself credit for.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense. And I think even if you take it down to a simple point, it's crazy how we think about things like, and that imposter syndrome happens to any kind of like high qualified or high sought after job, because you're always, as a human being, you're always thinking there's probably someone else better than me, or there's always someone that could do a better job than me, or deserves this job more than I do, which is that internal kind of self-doubt, and then you don't feel like you belong there. But for some reason, a lot of people in these industries, if they get a job like a cafe job, or they get a job like a retail job or something like that, where they no longer feel like they don't belong there, they start to get comfortable and they stay there. I almost fell into that trap myself, being in retail, because it was a nice job. Regardless of the customers, it was a very comfortable job. I was earning a fair amount, and I was in a nice area with decent working hours. And I finally felt, all right, this is quite comfortable. And that money, that paycheck that you get every month or every 2 weeks, where it's like, it's more money than you earn on a regular basis or have ever earned, is a thing to shut you up. It's a thing to kill dreams in a way. And I think it's important that a lot of people, me, you, and a bunch of our friends and a bunch of people that we don't know out there, that it's important to them that they know their worth, and they're worth a lot more than 4, 5, 6 digits of a paycheck. Because if you're not happy and you're earning £1 million a month, that's not worth it. It's simply, doesn't matter how much money you could have in the world. If you're doing a job that you absolutely despise and hate, and it's not what you want to do, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Oh, yeah. If it causes you more grief and it causes you more stress than you can get out of it, then yeah, definitely, I'd agree. I wouldn't want to do a job that causes you to just not want to go in, that you think, oh my gosh, I can't face it. No, yeah. I wouldn't want to do that at all. And I know what you mean, because I think when you have a regular paycheck, and a regular paycheck that allows you to also live a little bit as well, and not have to, worry that if you're going to be able to afford your rent the next month. Yeah. I think that can get very comfortable. And the idea of lifting off from there into a world of, yeah, maybe I'll get work at some point, maybe I won't, who knows? That is
terrifying.
Oh, shudders.
It is. I mean, me coming back home, and it wasn't a case of like I chose to. It was a case of before COVID happened, I got very lucky, and basically the landlord to my flat that I was renting was an absolute arsehole. Said that he had fixed some damp, and he hadn't. And I started to complain, and he was like, look, we can't fix it now because you're living there. We can either you can either leave now, and we won't charge anything from the contract that you've signed, or you can stay there, and unfortunately you'll have to deal with it. So I chose to get out of there, and unfortunately had to quit my job. But fortunately, it made me realize if I didn't quit my job and go back home, I probably would have been stuck in that job for the next 2 years.
Yeah, true, actually. Yeah, silver lining.
It is. It was a giant silver lining. And now I've got things done that I wanted to get done and ended up have got done. Good English. Fantastic English. But, I'm making those strides towards what I eventually want to do. And whilst, I'm in a predicament now where I'm not earning a lot of money and I'm not necessarily in a comfortable position and not living how I would necessarily want to live, at least I'm pushing towards something that I want to do in the long run. And sometimes I think people have to make those jumps, those sacrifices to realize life is worth a lot more than sitting behind a desk serving customers or doing something that you don't. If you like serving customers, fucking amazing. Like, more power to you. That's an incredible feat, and if you've got that job, fantastic, well done. But if you don't like doing that and you're stuck there, then get out. Get out. Find what you love to do and do it. And whilst that's easier said than done, it's kind of not at the same time. You kind of just have to get off your ass and do it.
It's as easy to think about as it is hard to do. So if that makes sense. It's something that you think, I think I could do that. But then when you put it into motion, and you start to do it, you start to think, oh, right, I've got to actually make some action on the ground, actually do something that's going to help move this forwards. The person that I work with in my current job, or worked with, before they left to set up their own business, and had that very same feeling where they were like, they made that decision to do it. They're like, great, I'm going to go do it. And then they thought, oh, what have I done? And they had these
Yeah.
their whole notice period was just spent staring at the window, bloodshot eyes, trying to work out really how they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Well, having that regular paycheck and then going to
Nothing.
something which is just so irregular or so uncertain.
Yeah.
It is scary. But also, like you say, if you are able to carve out the time in your life or carve out the place in your life where you can go, great, this is a point now where I'm going to set off and do something different. And that's how, that's how you break through. That's exactly how, like you say, you've got to do something physical. You've got to actually do it in real life to make it happen. And you can talk about it all you like, but yeah, you've got to actually do it.
It's jumping head first into a pool of sand, and then digging your way down to the bottom. That is
hoping there are no rocks.
Yeah, like the one thing that is really shined to me recently is kind of jumping in first and then figuring it out afterwards, because that's happened with us. That's happened with a lot of people that I know, and it's happened to a lot of famous people and successful people, where a lot of them will just say, stop thinking about it and planning it, because regardless of how much you plan, how much you prep, and how much you do, until you start, you're never going to know how good you are. And you will probably be awful when you start. This for our podcast, we was talking about it and planning it for 8 months. And then I think we can both safely say that the first episode was not what we expected. I mean, it was all right, but it wasn't like all that plan didn't make us any better on the first episode. And now, as we're getting forward, we kind of jumped in and was like, well, let's just record, let's do it, let's go. And now we've figured it out as we've gone along. My father kind of left his work because his boss was screwing him over to start his own business, had no idea how to do it, and has been successfully running his business for about 20 years now, because he figured it out along the way, and he's only gotten better since. There's been ample amount of people, because the best metaphor I can think about is like when you're a kid, right? And you want to do something new. You don't sit there and think, well, how am I going to do this? So if I want to learn how to swim and I've never swam before, do I step both feet into the water, or do I go head first? Or do I flail my arms like this, or do I kick my legs that way? Do I kick this old man as I'm walking past? You don't sit there and think about that as a kid. You jump in and then you hope you don't drown.
Do you know what? I can attest to that, because there was a time when I was abroad, actually, in a different country, and a child it was in the sea, and they did jump off like an inflatable, and they did kick me, this old man, in the head. And I was like, what did you do that for?
I'm learning how to swim.
Genuine reason, which I just jumped in, didn't think about it, sorry.
Perfect. There you go.
Fair play. All right. Can't blame you for that.
That's it. And it's like because I think about when I started to ski, right? I didn't sit there with my skis on thinking, well, so I'm going to do snowplow and then maybe parallel later. And if I turn like that, I'll turn this way. I put my skis on, fell over 10 times, and learnt by failing.
Yeah.
And now I can ski any mountain probably in the world successfully.
Oh,
by just
big words,
mate. If anyone wants to fly me out to a mountain and test that, you're more than welcome.
I'll see you in the X Games.
Oh, fuck yeah. I can't do flips though. I tried, broke my neck. Didn't really. But yeah, it is that you put your skis on, you go, you fail, you learn. And every ski instructor will tell you the best way to learn is by falling over. And that's a kind of a metaphor for your entire life of the best way to learn is by failing and trying. Because at least if you fail, at least you can say that you tried, because 90% of people don't even do that. They sit there and be like, well, it's probably not going to work out if I do try. It's like, well, you don't know. You haven't tried. So go ahead and try.
Yeah, give it a go. And do you know what? There is something which I find really strange in adult culture, because when you're a kid and you try something, every adult, it seems like it's hard built into us that a kid try something, and the first time a kid's able to take some steps, everyone goes, "Oh, well done! That's amazing! You did so well! Good job! You're really good at that." And there's all these sort of affirming words coming at you, and as a kid, you're thinking, "Yeah, I'm brilliant at
I'm
this.
the beast.
I can walk.
Hell
I can
yeah.
walk."
Wait until you see me spin.
Yeah. And then when kids fall over or they hurt themselves, "Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. Try again."
Get
But
up
then
and try again.
when you're an adult, people kind of go, "Oh, you can do that? Go on, show me." And then you do it and they go, "That was terrible. Don't quit your day job."
Oh, yeah, it is
Oh.
that, isn't it?
Oh.
Or it's like, that wasn't very
Felt
good, was
that.
it?
Yeah.
No. But
And it's
that might very much be British culture, though. You know,
Maybe.
whether
I
that is.
bet that it isn't, though. I bet that it's all over.
It might be all over, but like it is. You are completely right. It's a case of like, if you're an adult and you're trying something, if it's not good or it's not like peak standard, then don't bother. For some reason, it's that weird mentality of like, because you're an adult, you should be really good at it. Otherwise, don't tell anyone. And it is so unbelievably bizarre, because without trying it and without failing beforehand, you're never gonna get to that point. And this is why I asked about manifestation, because there's a lot of people recently that have popped up who have been completely and utterly successful in the field that they are working in. That they talk about manifestation. They talk about like, I was sat in front of a mirror telling myself that I was the best in this sport before I ever became champion, or I would talk to myself constantly, or I'd play out scenarios in my head of a talk show before I was ever famous. And there's this constant affirmation that they give themselves that they are either the best or they are going to be the best before they ever become that. And because they've got that mindset built into, and it's the same with rich people, they tell themselves that they're going to be rich before they're ever going to be rich. And by telling themselves that, they make those life changes and they live their life accordingly to what their head is telling them to do. And there was something, I'm not sure, I can't quote it word for word, and I don't want to get it wrong, but so I'll say it in bare minimum as I can. But like, your brain works off of what you tell it. So if you are positive and tell yourself that, for argument's sake, you are a good person, you're good looking, you're athletic, and you're healthy, your brain will start to make changes if you are not those things to become those things, because you're telling it that. Whereas if you tell your brain that you are a bad person, you're depressed, you're ugly, and you're unhealthy, your brain will just become that of what you tell it to be, because it's an incredibly powerful vessel. And I'm not sure what study it was that I read that said that, but it's almost like a positive encouragement that you give yourself so that your brain knows that you are worth more than you're giving out.
Yeah. Do you know, I learnt something the other day, which I knew before, but I'd forgotten, and it blew my mind, to say plainly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that feelings were an effect of thoughts. So feelings followed thoughts. Thoughts were the things that came first, they were the cause, and then the feelings would be what comes from those thoughts.
Okay.
So that if you can change your thoughts in a way that is genuine and be consistent, then the feelings will follow that as well.
Right.
And
okay.
I was thinking,
that's similar to what I said, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
In
It's exactly that. It's kind of saying that, like, for example, you're using that analogy of someone that is building a business and wanting to build it into a very wealthy or a very big business. If it's something which is, if you're constantly telling yourself, take opportunities, grow the business, be clever about it, and, make sure you manage your risks, but take those risks when they're there, you'll probably miss a lot less of the opportunities that come your way, and you'll be able to see an opportunity and you'll feel almost obliged to take it because it was...
You'll be more open to it.
Yeah, you'll be more open to it. But yeah, if you get worried and you get concerned about what you have and you think that it could collapse at any moment and you kind of focus on the fragility of it, then you probably won't build it anywhere, or you won't want to take it anywhere because you'll be trying to protect and consolidate what you already have.
Completely. So it is just it's a positive mindset that almost tricks your brain into feeling these positive feelings. Because obviously, as you said, the thoughts come first, and then your feelings are a byproduct of thoughts that you have.
Yeah.
We should be motivational speakers, Joel.
That's for when we try to get well known and it just doesn't happen. So we
go into motivational speaking. Yeah.
And we just say to kid, you can do it. You can
do it. You can be the doctor that
you.
your dad doesn't want you to be. Go ahead. That's right.
Yeah.
You can be a pop star. Go for it. You can't sing at all, but I believe you can.
I wouldn't want to try and become a doctor, to be fair. That many years studying.
No, I wouldn't.
I couldn't hack it.
No, I've already dealt with people who act like they're dying. So, and you've dealt with dead people. So, you know, we've already kind of graced that period and don't like it.
Oh, I see. I don't want to. We don't need to talk about that. That's
no,
not,
we don't.
You know.
We'll save that for another podcast. for the for the last bit, I want to just ask you one more question, Joel. In the sense of your career and your hopeful future, in which I know many people are encouraging of, what is the end goal for you? And in terms of money, how would you use the money that you have to make yourself a better person in that career?
I mean, if I'm not ruling the world by 2050, I've failed.
That is true, actually. That is true. I know you did say that to me off camera.
Watch out for Joel the Dictator coming to
Joel for president
near you
2050. Yeah. He did say he's going to abolish all
televisions.
Televisions? Why televisions?
Because the arts are bad. They're bad for you.
True. You know that? Yep. You're right. He's going to abolish all of television and films, and he's going to be the only one making anything. It's all going to be written, directed, and acted by Joel.
I don't really have an ultimate goal. I just want to be able to, I think, make a living from it at some point. To be able to say, I don't also have another job. I'm not working in a bar, or I'm not working somewhere else. To be able to say, no, this is what I do, and this is how I make.
Yeah, if someone asked you what you do for a living, you turn around and say, I'm an actor.
Oh, I'm an actor. I'm an actor.
Don't you know, I'm an actor. Yes, that's right.
Yes, I read scripts.
Scripts. I read some scriptures. Yep.
Is that a dagger I see before me?
But no, in terms of, okay, you want a healthy and comfortable life in the field of work that you're in.
I mean, I'd want to build it as far as it can go. Not going to stop riding that train if I get on it. But yeah, that's the point for me where I'd go, Brill, this is awesome. This is where I want to be.
Yeah, is that the point where you'd be like, I've made it?
I wouldn't say that I've made it, because I mean, like everyone says, is there such a thing as being a professional actor? It's just surely you're just like messing about on screen or messing about on stage. But
that's not the right mentality to have, Joel.
Okay. But to be able to do that without having to have another job and being able to live really comfortably as well. But I think with the money, how many Aston Martins can you buy? That's the question.
That is
as many
true.
as you want. No, I don't.
Would you
don't
be
know.
James Bond?
I'd love to be James Bond.
There you go.
I absolutely love
Free
to do
Aston
that role.
Martins.
Yeah, I don't think he does actually.
I don't think he does.
I think he gets to drive them though. I see he in No Time to Die. I like the seeing them in the DBS.
Yeah,
it's always nice. But anyway, yeah, I think the money thing. It's really just see where you land and see what you're able to do, because there's a lot that you can do when you have an abundance of additional cash that you really don't need in order to be able to live, and a lot that you can invest in. I think I'd be very interested in getting into investing and looking at what technologies to help out with or what to help create, just to kind of contribute a bit more to society. But that's also a very dreamland kind of way to think about it.
No, that's future, Joel. All right. See, this is this bad mentality that you've got. It's dream. No, it's not. This is the future that you're going to live.
But what I mean is a bit like saying, when I get rich, I'm going to give to charity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not like I sort of want to do that, but I guess that's not.
But you probably
the right
won't.
mentality.
And off camera, you'll probably say that you hate charity. You heard it here first, folks. Joel hates charity. Everyone.
Great, lovely. I'm glad we got that cleared up. What about you? What's your feeling towards money? How do you feel about it?
I love it. Money. No. I do want to be financially stable, and if not financially comfortable. I would like, on a selfish basis, I'd like to be considered in like the rich bracket. But not for, I don't think for any reason other than I just don't want to have that worry and kind of almost emotional turmoil of worrying about money. Because in the past of living by myself and working a lot, I've found myself that money does like stress me out. And if I have an abundance of it, I won't have to worry about it. But on top of that, I have not promises, but I guess I'd like to give back to friends, families, and people that have helped me get to where I would get to. Like, I know ever since I've been a kid and wanted to be either a dancer or an actor, I've said to my mom that I'd buy her a B&B, a bed and breakfast in Cornwall, so that she can quit her job and work over there, which would be like a dream for her. Obviously, my dad could help out as well, so he wouldn't have to. I'd like buy the half of his company, so he can just live out there with her and spend the rest of their life in a comfortable situation. I'd pay off mortgages for my sister and debts for my sister and my family. And then any close friends that have gone to uni, like people that have helped me along the way, just pay off their uni debt if they still have it, so they don't have to worry about that anymore. Like, I'd love to be in that situation where I could give like a lot of my money to other people and to fund renewable power. I think I spoke to one of my friends not too long ago. If I had all the money in the world, but I could only spend it on one thing, to help the planet or to help someone, it would be renewable energy, in terms of like wave power and solar power and stuff like that. Because I have no interest in keeping the money myself, besides being able to be comfortable.
Yeah,
that's it. I'd love. Don't get me wrong. I would love a house in England, and then probably a house somewhere in the mountains and stuff like that I could go to. But if you turn around and said, "Hey, everyone that you care about has been sorted, and you've bought everything you've wanted for them, but you're only going to have one house, but you don't have to worry about buying food and stuff like that for the rest of your life," I would immediately take up that offer, without, like, in a heartbeat.
It'd be a great offer, and
yeah,
this is where we're similar, I think, because there is. I didn't want to say it because I thought it just sounded, I don't know, but that, like, you talk about that whole philanthropic side where you'd love to be able to give to people who have given to you, and to almost say, right, you invested in me at an earlier time, or you gave me your time, or helped me in whatever way. Let me repay you, or let me not even repay, but just return a favor, or just be able to give you something that's going to help you in the future. There is a great feeling to helping people.
Yeah, of course there is.
It's brilliant.
And it's not a case of I'm doing this for me. It doesn't make, obviously it makes you feel good, but it's nothing about that. It's mate, you were one of the people that saw the potential that I had that I didn't even see in myself before I got there. So thank you. Here's my thank you to you. And how else can I help you, sort of thing.
Yeah, the people that remind you of who you are.
Yeah, of course. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I would like to be incredibly rich, like stupidly rich, you know?
It can't be that
no
bad,
other,
can it?
for no other reason than just to have an ample amount of money to do what I want with. Whether that happens, hopefully one day it gets to a point where I'm in that upper bracket, and I'm not gonna lie and bullshit and be like, oh, I wouldn't want to be rich because rich people are arseholes. I don't agree with that form of thinking. I think rich people are incredibly smart, and incredibly talented or dedicated people. So I would like to join that upper echelon of people and see how they work, see how their brain works, getting to investing and stuff like that, and just work with my money to make, I guess, me a better person and to learn more things. Like, I've always said that if I ever became successful or famous, I would want to go back and do like drama school for 3 years, or like do my skiing degree, or like get a chefing qualification and shit like that, or a chiropractic qualification. All of these, I'd love to just fucking learn everything. And without money, you can't learn everything with a qualification.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you've got to build it through a specific channel, and then you could go back and do more when you've got more resource to be able to do that with. But yeah, absolutely.
So that would be my dream, and hopefully it does happen soon. And I say soon. I don't care when it happens, as long as it happens. And that's basically it. I want to repay everyone that paid me. So,
great. So, how are we going to rob the bank?
We're going to rob the bank by wearing, like, have you got big socks?
I can cut holes in socks. We can do that.
Yeah. Okay. I was more thinking SpongeBob style, no eye sockets, just mouths.
Yes, tights. We'll get some tights.
Yes, there we go. We get tights. Perfect. All right. Well, we're gonna go and rob the bank. We're not gonna say which banks. You'll fucking catch us. Duh.
Oh, obviously.
Losers. All right. Well, I'll see you at the bank, Joel.
Yeah, well, see you there.
All right. Love you, mate.
Love you too, buddy.
Fuck off then.